Recently I've been paying attention to the leaks for the Switch 2, and alongside that a potential release date for the Legends Z-A game was also leaked, which is said to be around August this year. So I figured now would be a good time to make a video on some of the predictions I have for the Legends Z-A games. I'm gonna keep things simple though. I'm gonna focus more on guessing what the starters will be and predicting some megas, things like that. Also, I'm aware of the Game Freak leak that happened a few months back, and while I did see a lot of the stuff on there, I tried my best to avoid anything about Legends Z-A or Gen 10. So if there's any similarities in my predictions to that, then it's probably purely coincidence. Anyways, with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Alright, to start things off, I'm gonna talk about the starters. I feel like this is probably the, not easiest, but probably the one I could guess closest. I won't give like a definite perfect 3-1 choice, but I feel like I can narrow it down the best with the options that I do have. And the reason I say this is because there's certain like rules that Pokemon follows or Game Freak follows for their games on how they choose the starters for like remakes or for Legends games. I'm assuming now that they're gonna do. So first and foremost, we know that it's basically been confirmed that Mega Pokemon will be returning in Legends Z-A. This is not a leak, it was in the reveal trailer right at the end. So by that logic, I'm assuming that the 3 starters in this game will get a Mega form. Now, there's a small chance that they might get regional forms like they did in Hisui for Legends Arceus, but I doubt that they'll do that for the game they bring back Megas for, especially when the starters are going to be from older games. So based on that logic, we can roll out 2 sets of starters, that being Gen 1 and Gen 3, and that's because these starters already have Mega forms, and all three of them from each gen. And we can roll out 3 other Pokemon, being the starters from Legends Arceus, because I'm just assuming that they're not going to reuse them, which is probably very likely. So what we're left with is Gen 2 outside of Cyndaquil, because he was in Arceus, Gen 4, all of Gen 4, Gen 5 outside of Oshawott, Gen 6, Gen 7 outside of Rowlet, Gen 8 and Gen 9. Now there's still a lot to choose from, but I think the next group we can rule out is Gen 9. And the reason for that is it's the most recent game, okay? I know they've already got their sales, but there's a chance they don't want to add stuff from there just so they don't want to like reduce the sales or whatnot. But I don't think that's the reason. I just feel like it's too recent for them to add stuff. And to be honest, I would have been more confident with this pick if Legends Z-A came out before Gen 9. And the reason for that is because they've shown that in Gen 9 they're giving love to the most recent Pokemon already. In Gen 9 they gave an evolution to Duraludon and new evolutions to Applin, being Diplin and Hydrapple. We got Chaladon for Duraludon as well. So they've shown that they will give new evolutions to Pokemon who are just 1 gen old. But I've not completely set my mind on that, so I feel like there is a chance that they won't be picking any Gen 9 ones for this game. So I am gonna cross them off as options that they won't choose. So what we're left with now is Gen 2, like I said, outside of Cyndaquil, Gen 4, all of them, Gen 5 outside of, who was it? Oshawott, and Gen 6, and Gen 7 outside of Rowlet, and Gen 8. Now, I'm almost certain one Pokemon from Gen 8 is going to be chosen for the starters. That's because so far it's one of the few, not few gens, but one of the gens where the starters don't really have any gimmicks outside of the ones from their generation, which was the Dynamax forms and all that. But another reason is I just feel like their designs compared to all of the other starters are kind of basic. I do like them. I just think compared to every other starter out there, it's a bit simple and basic. Now you could compare them to like the simplicity of Gen 1 and 2, but even then they had the Gen 1 and 2 had something unique about them which made them stand out a bit, I guess. Because like there's a dragon for Gen 1, there's a dinosaur with a plant on its back, and a freaking turtle with cannons, okay? For Gen 2, it's not as crazy, but there's an alligator who stands up. Another dinosaur, but instead of with a plant on its back, it's got a flower on its neck. And I guess another dinosaur, but with a flaming neck. I don't know, it looks more like a badger, I guess, with a flaming neck, so that is something. For me, Gen 8, it just felt like a regular bunny who stands up, a monkey with drums, and and James Bond as a lizard. And I mean, they're all cool, don't get me wrong, it's just a bit simple for starters, you know? When you have crazy designs like the ones from Gen 3 and Gen 4, even Gen 5. But yeah, you get my point, right? I'm yapping a bit too long about the starters of Gen 8. Anyways, there is another group of starters I might consider ruling out, and that is the Gen 6 starters. Now, to get my logic on this, you have to also look back at Legends Arceus again. If you didn't know already, the Hisui region from the Legends Arceus game was Sinnoh from the Gen 4 games set in the past. Now, none of the Gen 4 starters were starters in Legends Arceus, but they did exist in the game because they were once native, and still are, I guess, to the region Hisui or Sinnoh. So by that logic, I feel like they won't choose any of the Gen 6 starters to be actual starters in the game, but they will be available throughout the region in the game to when you explore and start catching Pokemon and all that. So we can rule out Gen 6 by that logic. It's not like the best logic, but I feel like it's good enough to base these guesses off of. So what's left now this time is Gen 2, Gen 4, Gen 5, Gen 7, and Gen 8. Also, removing all of the ones from Arceus. You all know on the screen, I'm probably showing it there. The ones that are circled from those gens, or crossed off. So, among these guys, you can probably mix and match one Pokemon from each gen, and one type from each gen, to make the 3 starters. Via water grass, right? And I feel like that's the formula they're going for with these Legends games. I don't know for sure which 3 they're going to choose, but in my personal opinion, I'm going to pick these 3, being Turtwig, Poplio, and Scorbunny, I guess. Yeah. Actually, no, let me, actually, no, I'll leave it like that for now, okay? So, Turtwig, Poplio, Scorbunny, okay? Those are the 3 I've chosen. The reason being because Turtwig is my favourite starter, and one of my favourite Pokemon of all time, including the whole line up to Torterra. So that's just a bit of bias there. But you can just mix and match from the ones left on screen which ones you want to see as starters. I'm pretty sure one of those guys will be one of the starters, okay? So those are my guesses for the starters. Now I'm going to make some predictions for Megas. And you've already heard what I said about the starters. I feel like all 3 of the starters in the game will get a Mega Form. So I don't know which starters they're going to choose, like I said, but you can pick from there. Well, and all of the ones that are left, they might get Mega. That's what I'm trying to say here. So there's that. But now we gotta talk about the Pokemon outside of the starters and which ones will be getting Megas. Now this is a little bit more tough because there's really not much you can go off of here. But I do have two kind of confirmed ones in my mind. I'm gonna start things off with Flygon. This is the one I think is most confirmed for me. Not just because it's probably my most favorite dragon type Pokemon, alongside the other Grand Dragon Garchomp, right? But also because I think there was an interview for someone who worked at Game Freak back when Auras released. I think they were asking if Flygon was going to get a Mega. And I think they said something like they couldn't think of a good enough design to do it justice, so they decided not to give him one. Now, that is obviously annoying for the Flygon lovers like me who wanted to see a Mega, but that gives me hope, because now they're bringing Megas back. Flygon has a very good shot of getting a new Mega form. So that's my most likely one up there. Flygon, Pokemon I love, and a Pokemon who seems likely to get a Mega. So that's my prediction for one of the Megas. Now there's one other Pokemon I feel like has a decent shot at getting a Mega. It's another Gen 3 Pokemon, and that is Milotic. Now, it might seem random at first, but there is like some sort of logic behind this. That's why I'm putting this up close to the ones I think are most likely to get it. Oops. Now, let me explain my reasoning. So, if you didn't know, Milotic is kind of a counterpart to Gyarados. And the reason for that is they have like a similar evolution style. Not like evolution method, but a style. Magikarp evolves into Gyarados. Magikarp was supposed to be that useless fish, like weak, useless fish, that evolves into a super powerful dragon type thing. Not dragon type, but dragon looking thing, right? And Feebas was supposed to be that ugly fish that evolves into a beautiful serpent type thing, right? And they're both like water type serpentine creatures, you know? And that's the thing that they had going on, right? But there is actually a little bit more to this counterpart. If you didn't know, Gyarados and Milotic have the same base stat total. And I'm pretty sure Magikarp and Feebas do as well. They're both, yeah. So, I'm looking at Gyarados and Milotic here. There's more than just the base stat total that they have in common, right? They both have 540 base stat total, but they also both have the same stats, same stat points spread across their stats, if you know what I mean. They're kind of like the evolutions. If you've played competitive, you'll know what I'm talking about, or if you know stuff about Pokemon stats, you know what I'm talking about. So Gyarados here has 125 attack for his attack stat. Milotic also has a 125 stat, but it's not in the attack, it's in the special defense. And basically like that, they all have like the same number stat, but in a different spot. It's rearranged basically. So they have like, Milotic has 100 special attack, Gyarados has 100 special defense. They both have the same speed, the same HP, and so on and so forth. So based on that logic, and the reason I explained that to you is because Gyarados has a Mega. It got one in the first game Megas was introduced in, pretty sure. Yep, Mega Gyarados in X and Y with Lysander. Yeah. If Gyarados gets a Mega, I'm pretty sure Milotic should get one too. And I'm pretty sure people are expecting Milotic to get one back when Auras released as well, because it's a Gen 3 mon, an iconic Gen 3 mon, may I add. Because it used to be the champion's ace as well. Not Steven, but the champion from Emerald, I think. Yeah. Because in Emerald, Steven steps down and Wallace is champion. Anyways, I'm going off a bit too much. But yeah, it's an iconic mon from Gen 3, and it didn't get a Mega like Flygon in the Gen 3 remakes. So now is a good time for it to happen. Now, those are my most logical predictions. From here, I'm just going to list Pokemon I like and I think deserve a Mega. And this is gonna get a bit long if I like list every single one, because there is a lot. I can't think of them at the top of my head right now, but I could go on forever, so I'm gonna keep it short, and I'll try to make it seem likely or legitimate. So on that note, I'm gonna be talking about Talonflame. Now, Talonflame, one of the reasons I think it deserves a mega is it's an iconic mon from Kalos, right? One of the first, or probably, yeah, no, it is the first early route bird Pokemon that kind of mixed up the tradition of normal flying, you know? Every early bird Pokemon in ever since up to X and Y was just a normal and flying type bird, normal plain typing. They had cool designs, some of them, but Talonflame was the most unique, and it felt special to have like a fire flying type in your party, you know, it just felt cool. So I think based on that already, that's already given it points. But also, competitively, all it really has going for it right now is its speed. If we're talking about back in Gen 6, okay, Gale Wings pre-nerf was super busted, I get it, okay? 120 base power flying move, Brave Bird, stab, right? As a priority move, crazy work, okay? In VGC as well, priority Tailwinds, going crazy. It had niches in both. It still has niches in VGC as Tailwind, I think, even with the Gale Wings nerf, because you can still use that full health. But offensively, Talonflame has fallen off quite a bit because Gale Wings got nerfed, and in singles, I don't think you can really use Tailwind support that well in singles, so it needs some offense for it, and offensively I think it's pretty weak, right? It's got around 80 attack, around 70 special attack, something like that. So it deserves a mega, I think. If it was the first Pokemon to break the chain of normal and flying, has a cool design. I'm pretty sure it's still the only one that broke the chain outside of Corviknight in Gen 8. I'm not really considering Kilowattrel on this because I don't really consider it an early bird Pokemon. I mean, you do find Wattrel kind of early, but it doesn't feel like an early bird Pokemon, if you know what I mean. And I feel like Wattrel it could have had more done with it as well. But I'm going off topic, I'm talking about Talonflame. It's native to Kalos. Fletchling was in the trailer, I think. It's Fletchling's iconic too, because it was always flying around Serena or whatever in the anime, or even in the opening of the game, I think. Yeah, so yeah, I think it definitely deserves a mega. Now, onto a couple more Pokemon. I'm trying to just list the ones still kind of logical right now, because if I just start listing ones I like, it's not really predictions at that point, it's just Pokemon I want to get megas. So next up, pseudo legendaries. Now, if you don't know what they are, pseudo legendaries are Pokemon with a 600 base stat total. Basically, really strong ones. You won't understand what I mean if I just list some. Tyranitar, Garchomp, Metagross, those guys. You know, the big, cool ones that you get late game that evolve at really high levels. Those guys are pseudo legendaries. Now, most of them already have megas. I'm pretty sure almost all of them have megas actually. But the ones that don't, I believe, are Goodra and Hydreigon. Now, oh yeah, and most of them are Dragon type if you didn't know already. Oh, and Komo as well. But I feel like they won't give a mega to Komo. Just a hunch. I don't really have any logical reason behind that, but I just don't think they'll do it. But I'm talking about Goodra and Hydreigon right now, so if Legends Arceus hadn't dropped, I would almost be 100% sure about the Goodra pick. Mainly because I feel like compared to every other pseudo legendary, its design is kind of simple, and I feel like a mega could do a lot for it. And if we're talking competitively, I don't know about VGC, but in singles, it's not super great, and because it's supposed to be like a specially bulky one, but it doesn't really have much recovery, it doesn't get hazards, etc. You know, it can do decent amount of damage with decent attacking stats, but you can't really, it doesn't really do that great either, because you kind of expect what it's going to do. But anyways, let me get back on topic. So those were the grounds on why I think Goodra could use a Mega. But the reason why I think there's a chance it might not happen is because back in Legends Arceus, Goodra was actually one of the few mons who got a regional form. And to be honest, it did a lot for Goodra. It added more to the design with its steel snail shell type of thing. It's got the new steel typing, obviously. And although the stats are the same, steel has done so much for Hisui and Goodra compared to regular Goodra that it's just good, you know. It may not be OU at the time, at this moment. Yeah, I think it was OU at the start where it dropped off, but it can still be used in OU. It's Steel and Dragon is a great defensive typing, and it has new stab steel moves. It can use those defensive stats with its with a body press set, cast body press, stuff like that. Yeah, so it may not be as likely for Goodra to get a Mega now, but Hydreigon's still there, and it's one of the few other pseudo legendaries who have not got a Mega yet. And honestly, I think it's a really cool design that it already has, right? Hydreigon, 3 heads with its 2 arms with the heads, you know. But yeah, Hydreigon, it's pretty strong, cool dark dragon typing, you know. Honestly, a Mega, I'm not really sure how they would do a Mega for it. I think its design is very well fleshed out. It's already got a lot of stuff going on. But I do think it deserves one, considering how basically every other pseudo legendary got one. Actually, now that I think about it, I played this fan game called Pokémon Insurgents once. They have a fan design for Mega Hydreigon, and they gave it like 5 heads, 2 extra heads. It looks pretty cool. I think they can take inspiration from that. I mean, I've seen Pokemon or Mega Pokemon that seem close to some fan games I've played as well, some fan designs. So I don't see why not, like, I don't know if they're directly ripped or not, but maybe some inspiration was taken. Well, yeah, so that could be something. Please don't give it its ability though from that game, because that was insane. If you played Insurgents, you would know. I won't go into too much detail into that. If you know, you know, I guess. But yeah, Mega Hydreigon would be cool. Actually, speaking of pseudo legendaries, how could I forget the OG Dragonite? I think the reason it didn't come to my mind right away is because it's right now with terrestrialization and all that, it's still kind of relevant in the meta with Terranormal, Extreme Speed and all that. But yeah, in terms of different forms, I don't think Dragonite has ever been like touched by any of those gimmicks. It didn't get any new forms for Megas or the signature Z moves or a Dynamax form. So yeah, a Mega Dragonite would be cool. Cool to see. Is there any other pseudos? Probably. I mean, yeah, Komao. I think I've said this already. I don't know if I did or not. Maybe I'm just tripping. But it's just a hunch. I just don't think they'll give Komao a Mega for some reason. I mean, it's already kind of a cool design in itself. It's not much you can add, but even if you could, I just have a hunch that they won't do it in Legends Z-A. Yeah. So, I think I've got most of the Pokemon I wanted to talk about out of the way, or the most logical ones at least. I would go on way too long if I listed every Pokemon that I like, that I wanted to give a Mega to. I think I've said that already too. But yeah, so I'll leave that there. But since this is a prediction video, there is one more thing I would like to talk about. It's just some predictions I have for the story, or just story related things. So we know that apparently this game is only going to take place in Kalos or Lumia City. So you won't be exploring the entire region of X and Y. But I feel like it would be more of a life-size city if that's how it's going to be. So it will still feel pretty big. But that's not what I wanted to talk about. The game is called Legends Z-A, so there's obviously going to be a big focus on Zygarde. But I also feel like AZ will appear in the story as a more important character. If you don't know who AZ is, he was a character from the X and Y games, who was the old king of Kalos, if I recall correctly, the one who created the ultimate weapon. So how I think he's going to be related to the story is, well, obviously based on the name you feel like he's going to play a big role, but we know this game is set in the past, but not too far in the past, like when the ultimate weapon was created. I think he made the weapon 3,000 years ago, and this is set like a few hundred years in the past, something like that. So on that logic, this is post-war, but AZ is still alive because he's immortal, right? Based on that logic, I feel like how the story is going to go is you might meet a Zygarde cell, one of the core cells, at the start of the game, at the start of the journey, because there can't be like a Legends Arceus type of story where Arceus sends you to the past, because Zygarde is not the god Pokemon, right? But if he's going to be pivotal to the story, there has to be a big threat as well to Lumiose or Kalos. So I feel like by this point in the story, we know AZ has yet to forgive or still has rage in his heart because his Floette hasn't returned yet. So by that logic, he might still want to do something crazy. So he might be the villain of this game. I don't know this for sure. This is just my predictions. That's all I'm saying. So you might meet a Zygarde cell, core cell, and start collecting them through the story. It's not going to be like Sun and Moon where they're collectibles. I feel like as you play the story, they'll give them to you as story objectives. So you can't really progress the story if you're not getting these cells. Now, for there to be a threat, I feel like AZ is trying to do something. Maybe someone pissed him off or something, I don't know. But he's angry for some reason again. And he wants to do something. But he knows he can't use the weapon again. He can't go around killing a ton of Pokemon to power it or whatever. And I think because this game is more focused on Zygarde, he's not going to be going after the X and Y legendaries like Lysander did in X and Y. Instead, though, I think he's going to be like Lysander in the anime. Because if you haven't seen the anime, Lysander in the anime actually tries to use Zygarde as the weapon. He doesn't try to revive the weapon, he uses Zygarde as a weapon. Or was it like an imitation of Zygarde? I don't remember correctly. But he had a Zygarde cell that he tried to use to destroy the city. So I feel like AZ might also be collecting Zygarde cells alongside you. Well, I don't know if you know that or if he knows that something. Somewhere along the way, like near the end of the story, you each have like 50% Zygardes or something. That'd be pretty cool when you fight. And then maybe there's some other greater big bad at the end where you join forces, you get the 100% Zygarde, and you get the Mega Stone of Zygarde. And yeah, you go crazy. I might have to cut that last bit out because no spoilers. But you get 100% Zygarde, and so yeah, at some point you might join forces. You might give you the other half of Zygarde and you get 100% and you fight the big bad. Now, I don't know what the big bad would be because I'm pretty sure it's not going to be Xerneas or Yveltal. Well, they might get like maybe new forms, I doubt it. Maybe a new item like they did for Dialga and Palkia. But I don't think that's how it's going to go because it's called Z-A. I feel like the main focus is going to be Zygarde. They might introduce a new Pokemon. This is just a guess, complete guess. But they might introduce a new big legendary Pokemon. Or not even a legendary, but like similar to like how Ultra Beasts were, some new kind of Pokemon. Who's a big bad, a new threat that Zygarde has to fight. That's like the only logical thing I could think of for a new enemy for a complete Zygarde. But yeah, story-wise, that's all I have to say. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and if you thought my predictions were cool, I don't really know what to say about that, but if you did, thank you. I think they're cool too. Yeah, if you want to see me do more videos like this, leave a like or something. I might do something about something similar to this for Gen 10. I don't really know what to talk about though, because I don't think there's been anything released or revealed about Gen 10, and I haven't seen the leaks either, so I can't really make a video like this about Gen 10. Maybe I'll do more predictions, more in-depth ones, but I don't want to make this video too in-depth or too long, because when I start rambling I can go on for ages, because I have a lot of theories or a lot of Pokemon I want to give to Megas too, and I could keep going forever, but I would like to keep this clear, concise, and fun to watch. So I'll leave it there. Hope you enjoyed, and yeah, see ya.